Kirby's Epic Yarn was my first ever Kirby game that I played for the first time back in 2012. And to this day, I still consider it to be my absolute favorite Kirby game. And for the longest time, I thought that that had to do with my nostalgia for the series, or for this game in particular, because whenever I open up a level, especially this one right here, I'm just like flooded with just like good memories. Because I played this game all the time when I first got it. But pretty recently, I played this game for the first time in a while. And one of the first things I noticed was just like how good the level design and the movement is in it. And it kind of made me like question if I was right about the nostalgia thing. Like, I'm sure that plays into this being like it plays into just how happy this game makes me. But gameplay wise, like, this game is a masterpiece. Anyway, so I'm sure the audio sounds pretty terrible out here. So I'm gonna go on into over to my desk where I have my mic set up. So when coming back to Kirby's Epic Yarn for the first time in like a few years at least, the first thing that really stood out to me was just like how fun the movement is in it. There's like a surprising amount of momentum-based things going on in Kirby's Epic Yarn. Because this game is just full of like elevators that move really fast and like bouncy things that fling you into the air and just like things to swing on. Because if you don't know, in Kirby's Epic Yarn, instead of like Kirby inhaling things, he has a little whip, and he can like, when you like swing it at enemies, it'll turn them into like a ball of yarn, and you can like throw them and use them as like a projectile. And you can also use that whip to like swing around on like little buttons that are in the background. But after just like playing all the way through Kirby's Epic Yarn again, it made me think to myself, like, Kirby's Epic Yarn is like way different than like any other Kirby game. I'm pretty sure Kirby's Epic Yarn is not considered a spin-off, so like it's probably the most different mainline Kirby game. At least movement wise, because you know, in most Kirby games you can float around and you can inhale enemies, and in this game you don't do either of those things. Like I said before, instead of inhaling, you have the whip, and instead of floating around, you can just turn into a parachute and kind of like glide down. And these mechanics are implemented so naturally, and they just feel so good. It made me realize like this game would like be ruined if you could, maybe not ruined, but like it would definitely defeat the purpose of a lot of the levels if you could float around like you could in a normal Kirby game. And it kind of made me think, like, how are normal Kirby levels designed? Because like if there's a pit to jump over and you fail to jump over it, you can just kind of fly out of it and you don't have to worry about dying. It's like most Kirby games, there's just like no risk to that, right? And like you'd think that would take all the challenge out of a platformer, right? Being able to just like fly infinitely. And you know, there's a lot of people out there that say Kirby games are too easy, and a lot of people don't care for Kirby games that much because of that. Now, I've been a Kirby fan for like several years. I've loved Kirby games for a long time. But you know, it made me think, like, why are Kirby games like even really fun? Like, because like obviously there's got to be something else to them if like there's no challenge. And like I would go as far to say as like Kirby games are not challenging at all for the most part. There's challenging things in Kirby games like the arena, or like the true arena from like Triple Deluxe or Superstar especially. That one's really hard. So after I like first started thinking about this, I really started to pay attention to how the levels were designed in Kirby games, because it just didn't make sense to me why I was having so much fun playing these games. But like I really noticed that a lot of the level design in Kirby games is just like, it almost seems like random scribbles sometimes. And that really threw me off, because like because when you're designing levels in platformers, like you carefully place the enemies and like where the jumps are and how you jump the jumps, you know. And these are carefully designed around the character's movement. But like a lot of times in Kirby, it just feels like enemies are just like scattered all over the place, and the ground is just like a lumpy lump. Like, so the other day I was at my friend's house, and we were playing Kirby's Adventure together, and it kind of hit me while we were there that, you know, like the main part of Kirby is like the copy abilities, right? Like that's like his whole gimmick. That's his thing. And I started to realize that just like it feels like all the levels are designed completely around that, but like they're not carefully designed. They're not so in most platformers there's like a couple ways for you to go about completing like a level or something. But I noticed in Kirby's Adventure, there's like no one way to do anything. In fact, you don't have to do anything
when you enter a level. You don't have to get a copy ability, but like if you get a copy ability, a lot of times if a copy ability is provided in a level, it'll like the level is like designed around that copy ability, and it's given you this copy ability so that you can just like kind of play around with it in the level. And in that sense, it kind of feels like the levels in Kirby Adventure are like little miniature playgrounds for you just to like experiment with the power-ups, because you know the power-ups are fun, you know. And you know, I've really latched on to this whole idea of like each level in Kirby being like a playground, because that like really puts it into perspective for me, like why it would be fun. And it even like makes sense why people wouldn't like Kirby, because like, I mean, if you're playing a Kirby game just to beat it, like just to say you've beat it, you're not going to have fun. If you're going to like a playground in real life just to say that you went down the slide, you're not going to have fun. So it's all kind of making sense to me now. If you're playing Kirby and you like just avoid getting all the copy abilities and you like avoid doing all the optional things and you're just trying to beat the levels, it's like if I see it as if like you were going to a playground and you just like weren't going to play with any of the equipment at all. You just kind of like walking through the playground, like you're not even playing, you know. So it kind of depends on the player, like, or like even the mood that you're in when you go to play the Kirby game. So you know, after this made sense for me in Kirby's Adventure, I started to like think through all the Kirby games, because like every Kirby game is like really different from each other. But this is this is like the reoccurring theme for Kirby games, is they're all like these little miniature playgrounds, and they all have like their own special theme. The only mainline Kirby game that doesn't have copy abilities, other than Epic Yarn, I guess, is Kirby's Dream Land. You know, the original Kirby. And this still like keeps the theme of like just like being a playground, because like you enter the game, and at this point the main gimmick was the fact that you could inhale enemies and that you could fly around, and they designed the levels around just that. You know, there was lots of enemies to inhale and like spit out at them, and it was a really short game, so it just felt like a fun little unique game, because like there wasn't really any other game at the time like that, I don't think. Moving on to Kirby Superstar, I see this game as actually pretty similar to Kirby's Adventure in the manner of how like in terms of like what their focus was on, because like instead of like enhancing the level design, which the levels were great and the story was the story is great in Kirby Superstar, but they really went all out on the copy abilities in Kirby Superstar, because whenever you get a copy ability in that game, it feels like you just like selected another Smash character. Like if you're playing Super Smash Bros. And you select a character, you get like a completely different moveset than any other character in Smash Bros. And that's what it feels like in Kirby Superstar, because like, say, I always think of like the boomerang ability. Like you can in the previous Kirby games before Kirby Superstar, when you got the boomerang ability, or I guess it's the cutter ability, not boomerang, you could just like throw a blade and then it would like come back to you. But in Kirby Superstar, you get all these other options. Like you can do like a down attack, and you whoosh down to the ground, and like you attack enemies on your way down. And there's another thing you can do, like when you get close enough to the enemy, you can like use the cutter as like a sword, and then you like pull off this crazy combo. They brought like every single copy ability in Kirby Superstar to like its max potential, and thankfully to this day, like they still do this in Kirby, like make it so that every copy ability has like this crazy move set, and they have been like expanding upon these moves, which as they should be. But it doesn't stop there, because like Kirby games have changed a lot since like Kirby's Adventure, when they nailed the whole playground thing and like the just having fun with the copy abilities and stuff, having all these options with the copy abilities. They started putting their focus on other things, like Kirby Squeak Squad, for example. The movesets in this game are actually, like, for the copy abilities, like, actually are a little bit more limited than Kirby Superstar. But this game has like this whole theme of like collecting treasure chests, and each level has like 2 to 4 treasure chests in them. And like when you get to the end of the level, each treasure chest could have like one of like a million things in it. It's not random, but like what you find in the treasure chest could like it could be like a spray can, and you could like that like changes Kirby's color. It could expand Kirby's health. There is a thing in Kirby Squeak Squad where you can expand the movesets if you find the right treasure chest. And that's just one example of like a really cool concept that they've come up with in a Kirby game that's just like never ever returned. Like another example would be Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. Like this whole game was kind of structured like a Metroidvania, where like you have this, instead of the game being level based, it's like area based, you know. So like you start off in one area, and then like instead of beating a level and going to the next, you just kind of explore this sort of complicated map. And you run into these roadblocks, and you need to use the copy abilities to get rid of these roadblocks so that you can continue in the game. And like behind these roadblocks sometimes are bosses or just like secrets, or like sometimes just a whole nother area would be behind them. And it doesn't stop there. Like Kirby's Return to Dreamland, like it starts this whole thing of just like having just like a lot more ideas that don't have to do with copy abilities or anything, just like really unique ideas that just show up in like the individual levels. And then like it continues to be like that in Kirby Triple Deluxe, Robobot, and like Star Allies as well. But yeah, I guess the point is it just depends on the player. Like it just depends on if you're like interested in like the concepts that the Kirby games have to offer, you know? Because anytime you turn on a Kirby game, it's just like going to a playground. Like you could like I said earlier, you could go down the slide and just be really bored and just like slide down really slowly and be like, wow, that was really easy. That wasn't a challenge. That wasn't even like, that was nothing. Or like you could go down the slide upside down or something. You could like run up the slide, you know? Kirby games are just like this. They're not really supposed to be a challenge necessarily, but they're not really supposed to be easy either. It's just supposed to be a fun time, you know? It's just supposed to be entering the levels and just having a good time. So yeah, it all comes down to the player. Anyway, that's all I have to say in this video. I just thought it would be an interesting topic to cover. I hope you enjoyed.